We must come together as a national community and ask ourselves how we can do better. This time, the next time, and all the times. Oh my god. What is like man, I feel like the Globe and Mail should have been like, bro, put the typewriter down. Like, we're gonna write this for you because this is garbage. It's a wonderful day in the homiehood, a wonderful day for a homie. Won't you be my homie to Taro? Over the weekend, on Saturday morning's paper, they released an opinion piece in the Globe and Mail, which the Globe and Mail that has been leaking all of this information about alleged Chinese election interference. They finally, I guess, gave the whistleblower the microphone and they published an anonymous opinion piece that is titled "Why I Blew the Whistle on Chinese Interference in Canada's Election." Now, my sense is that whoever has blown the whistle, whoever is this CSIS leaker, is experiencing a little bit of regret about having taken this course of action. Now, they will say in the article that they don't regret it and they are steadfast in their belief that they are doing the right thing. However, I think they are regretting some of the political fallout that they have created. I don't think that they're a huge fan of Pierre Poilievre weaponizing this in the way that he has, because, I mean, it's not really helping the situation. It's not really helping the whistleblower achieve what his stated goals were. And I think, I mean, I am assuming here that this person has some sort of conscience, but I think that they may also regret the xenophobia that they have created. Now, the whistleblower, quote unquote, I'm not even calling him a whistleblower because I feel like he hasn't blown the whistle on anything. I'm personally calling him the war drummer because as a result of all of this, the relationship between Canada and China has deteriorated and will probably continue to deteriorate for years as a result of these allegations. So there's a whole article here. This is, something that is a bit bizarre. They are publishing this article, but there is no author. We don't know who the author is. We don't know, are they a Chinese Canadian person? Are they a white man? And, if I had to, if I was a betting man, I probably would put my money on them being a white man. Why? I don't know. It's just my gut feeling, and I just read this article, and the perhaps the lack of nuance strikes me as, oh, this is a white guy writing this. So that is, obviously nobody knows this person's identity except for probably the head honchos over at the Globe and Mail. But my gut tells me this is a white male liberal, maybe conservative leaning intelligence agent who is maybe having second thoughts about taking this course of action, probably for, one of those reasons being that they are probably going to get arrested and thrown into prison as a result of all this. So, there is a note here from David Walmsley, editor-in-chief of the Globe and Mail, saying that, they feel as though publishing this anonymously is the right thing to do. This is a rare moment in which we have granted confidentiality to an opinion writer. We recognize conferring confidentiality demands a great degree of trust on the part of the reader. Yes, it does. And I do not think the Globe and Mail has this trust. But, I'm sure they would love to believe that they do. We believe that publishing this piece strikes a balance between providing readers with more insight into our work and our responsibility to protect the individual's identity, in the tradition of shielding sources when it is in the public interest, as set out by the Supreme Court of Canada in the 2010 ruling of Globe and Mail versus Canada. Okay. So I guess there is legal precedent for this. They feel justified in doing this. And we can take a look as to what this leaker is really feeling. So this is why I blew the whistle on Chinese interference in Canada's election. The following opinion piece is written by a national security official. When I joined the public service many years ago, I swore an oath, not to party or person, but to my country, to its democratic institutions, and to my fellow Canadians. So, already he's like, I'm just gonna say it's a he, because I've done the gender investigation by reading this opinion piece already, and I've determined that this is the quality of writing that only a man could think is good. So I might eat my foot on this one, but I'm gonna just assume that this is a man. So they're really like positioning themselves here as like they are a noble person. They've sworn an oath. They're like, okay, what are you, a knight? It's like, okay. When I first became aware of the significance of the threat posed by outside interference to our democratic institutions, I worked, as have many unnamed and tireless colleagues, to equip our leaders with the knowledge and the tools needed to take action against it. Months passed, then years. The threat grew in urgency. Serious action remained unforthcoming. I endeavored alone and with others to raise concerns about this threat directly to those in a position to hold our top officials to account. Regrettably, those individuals were unable to do so. And a lot of this kind of sparks a question for me, like, what is the function of intelligence agencies? Are they meant to simply be their own independent agencies, or are they supposed to influence our government in this way? And to me, it seems like we knew that this election interference was something that's going on, in so much as that, all major nations attempt to influence each other. But there still is not really anything concrete here. There's still no action that's being taken as a result of this, other than fear and war drumming against China. In the time that passed, another federal election had come and gone. The threat of interference had grown, and it had become increasingly clear that no serious action was being considered. Worse still, evidence of a senior public officials ignoring interference was beginning to mount. Now, I'm not sure if this is even entirely true. Again, this is an opinion piece, and they were going to create a foreign agent registry, which I believe was like Michael Chong of the Conservative Party's idea, or at least something he was pushing for. But I'm pretty sure that Trudeau also committed to doing that as one of his election promises. Despite these concerns, the decision to discuss this threat with Canadian journalists was not an easy one, probably because, he's going to get arrested. Where did it go? Was not an easy one. I lost my place. Where did it go? Oh, here we go. In this line of work, the question of whether or not to blow the whistle rarely arrives unaccompanied by other ones. I ask myself, can I do this while mitigating the risk to our country's sources and methods? Will this mean the end of my career? Who will take care of my family if I go to prison? Yes, I mean, these are all, I think, legitimate concerns, and if I believed that what this whistleblower was doing was justified, I would probably be on their side, like as I would be on the side of Chelsea Manning, for example. Anti-First Squirrel is saying, I see what you mean about the writing style. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, this has like mediocre white man vibes like all over it. For me, the answer to these questions was found in weighing them against the public interest. I hold no personal complaint against our political leaders, against our national security community, or against the Liberal Party. Indeed, I have voted for the latter in past elections and hope to be able to do so again one day. Now, this is something that is like, okay, this person is a liberal voter. They've voted for the libs in the past. And it's like, can't they just, like every other Canadian, not vote for the Liberal Party if they don't agree with what they're doing? If they want someone to be harder on China, there's the Conservative Party right there. You want to go to war with China? Vote for the Conservatives then. Like, but no, this person has to go beyond their individual democratic rights under our very flawed system and try to influence mainstream media. And the next election, unfortunately, I think as a result of this, is going to be an election about who can be harder on China. So it's like, to say that this leaker has not influenced the Canadian election in any significant way would be, I think, quite naive. And he's saying here that he has no personal complaints about political leaders or the Liberal Party or even CSIS. And then it's kind of just like, well, then why should any of us care? Like, if you're not even like leaking something that's damning of any of these groups or people, then why should any of us care? Neither was my decision taken out of any special animus toward the government of the People's Republic of China, despite its driving involvement of these affairs. So they're also saying that they're not even mad at China, bro. And it's like, okay, well then who are you mad at? Who is this intended to create, pressure around? Instead, I hoped that by providing the public with information I believe to be in the interest of all Canadians. Okay, so this is giving me just like a bit of like convoy vibes where it's just like, we're doing this for you. It's like, wait, doing what? You're sowing like discontent with our already flawed electoral system, and not for the right reasons, for a foreign threat that we already essentially knew existed, but not to any serious extent. And yeah, exactly. We're doing it for your freedom. It's like, okay, this a very self-righteous person here saying that they're doing it for the interest of all Canadians. Oh, okay, wow. Thank you so much for essentially like fueling ammunition that might, result in a Pierre Poilievre victory in the next election, because he's willing to be like super xenophobic against China. Great. Thank you. Thank you for doing this for us. We as a country would begin a much deeper conversation about what it is that we expect of our government. But we're not having that conversation. That's the thing that is like so ignorant about this leaker, is that they couldn't predict that we're not going to have a conversation. Like, we're not here to have a conversation in this political climate. We are here to throw mud and hope that it sticks. And what you just like created, you didn't create a conversation. You created a cesspool full of tar, and you like gave Pierre Poilievre a catapult to throw it at like wherever he sees fit. It's like, you didn't create a conversation. The only conversation that's happening now is like people who have lost trust in our electoral system, and they're worried that China has their hands in every level of government. Isn't like, this is literally conspiracy that like China can influence municipal elections in Vancouver, provincial elections in Ontario, and federal elections over like all of Canada. It's like, okay, this is like kind of insane. I hoped that we could launch a conversation about how to improve transparency, how to enhance accountability, how to protect all members of our society against external threats, and ultimately about how we continue to pursue a system of governance that best serves all of its citizens. It's like, okay, wow, you wanted to have a conversation, and it's just like, it's just we're not having that conversation. We want to improve transparency. Like, I want to have a conversation about proportional representation, about having a more democratic society that is not rooted in our flawed first past the post system. But I, as a single voter, I can't just do that. And I feel like that this person has taken the liberty, because they have information and power, because they work for CSIS, to just have a conversation that we don't even really need to be having. Like, we're not having a conversation about external threats, because we're just having a conversation about China specifically. We're not talking about the US. We're not talking about Canada's democratic institutions as a whole, or how they are flawed domestically. We're not talking about transparency. We're just doing more political theater, because that's what we do. Well, I still believe that conversation to be unnecessary, or sorry, to be necessary. It has unfortunately become marked by ugliness and division. And it's like, yes, how were you not able to predict that? Like, we live in polarized times, and you thought that this would be something that would unify us. And it's like, how naive is this person? So let me be clear. Okay, so like, are they running for office? What is this very like political speak here? So let me be clear. As troubling as the revelations we have seen are, they're not that troubling to me, but people are like hysterical about them. I do not believe that foreign interference dictated the present composition of our federal government. Okay, then why are you blowing this quote unquote whistle? Nor do I believe that any of our elected leaders is a traitor to our country. Okay, then why are you doing this? Nonetheless, the growing impact of foreign interference on our ability to enjoy a free and fair political process is undeniable. Now, this is just foolish, because you would have to believe that we have a free and fair political process in the first place. And as someone whose vote has literally never counted under our free and fair political process, my vote has never counted towards electing someone in Canada. I just don't believe that we have a free and fair political process. I still vote. I still think it's important. But under first past the post, like, over 50% of the votes don't even contribute to who gets elected. And that, to me, is the real flaw of our system, not foreign interference. Even this leaker says that foreign interference is not a problem, in so much as that it has not dictated the present composition of our federal government, or even constituted an elected leader being a traitor. So how can this be simultaneously not a problem in any meaningful way, but also enough of a problem for this person to risk going to prison for, because they're just like a useful idiot to the Globe and Mail? Are they leaving Canada? Is that what they meant by hoping they can vote again one day? I think they just like, they are voting conservative until the Liberal Party becomes more conservative. That's honestly how I read this. It's like they can't bring themselves to vote for Justin Trudeau, so they hope one day that the Liberal government will become so hard on China that they can vote for them once again. And it's like, bruh, just, I don't know, scratch your ballot or something if you're unhappy with the choices that you got. Like, I hope to never vote for the Liberal Party, and I never have in my life. But it's like, my vote has never counted. So pretending like my single vote is worth anything, and is just like such a romanticized vision of what Canada is. And you think someone who works in intelligence would have like a very kind of hard vision of what Canada is, not such a romantic one. You think they would be based in like real politic, like but they clearly have like a romantic vision of what Canada is, and you can just tell by how they believe in like brotherhood and you know, democracy, because we have, you know, some democracy here, but we don't really have a strong democracy. Anyways, will these revelations give some Canadians cause to question the integrity of our democratic institutions and processes? Yes, they well might. We know in a poll that basically over like 80% of people have lost faith in our election process. So great job. But preserving the alternative, that Canadians remain unaware of the risks to those institutions, would be to deprive them of the ability to participate in our democratic processes with meaningful agency. We already don't participate with meaningful agency. That's what is so like, this person is so naive, right? And it's just like, okay. And also informing us that foreign countries have some influence over our elections and have vested interest in who we elect is not breaking news. Like everyone should know this. They sound so young. Yeah, I know. Like they literally like they might be like a 19-year-old or something. It's like they got drunk for the first time and then they called the Globe and Mail by accident. Moreover, it would be to brush aside the experiences of many Canadian members of diaspora communities who have long been able to express their political voices freely and unfettered from the threat of foreign intervention or reprisal. So, again, I don't know, white savior feeling here. It's just like we're doing this for the Chinese Canadian people who are being silenced. And I'm like, I mean, are they? Who are like, it's very also like a belittling here. It's just like, oh, diaspora communities are more easily influenced because of their race. Indeed, I urge you to listen to those courageous Canadians who are willing and able to share their experiences in this regard. Okay? With that said, we must all recognize that this is not a partisan issue. Yes, it is. How can you like are you living in the current existence of Canada? Who, like, what is going on? Who is this person? Nor is this a China issue. It's not, because that's literally all we've been able to talk about since the first leak. Your fellow progressive Canadians, your fellow conservative Canadians, and your fellow Chinese Canadians are all just that, Canadians. Oh my God. So, like, okay, right? This is why it's confirming to me that this is at the very least a white person, but most likely a man, right? Like, they are like, this is like politics like 101. This is like one of the most common stereotypes, tropes, things that you could say that sound really stupid to anyone who's interested in politics. Like, we're all Canadians, guys. Come on, can't we just get along? It's like, okay. And then here also just saying progressive Canadians, conservative Canadians, because like as if there's only two types of Canadians. It's like he really just should have said liberal here. Getting convoy vibes? Maybe. In having this conversation, that is the thing too, right? Anti-Fur, is that we don't know who this person is. Who are they? What is their political identity? What conflicts of interest do they have? What is their political beliefs? Are they a convoy supporter even? Like, we don't know, you know? And then so how we're left to just guess. And that's why I'm just like, this is a white man, you know, because like if I find that I'm wrong about that, it's not my fault. It's the Globe and Mail's fault, because they're leaving us to try to guess who the hell this is. In having this conversation, we must resist the reflex to reduce the challenge that faces us to one of us versus them. Again, why? Like, of course it's going to be a us versus them situation. Just like, How do you work in intelligence and not understand that this is going to boil down to like worse relations between China and Canada, right? Like there's already so much tension on the world stage between US and China and Russia. And to think that this is not going to play into that at all is just like so stupid and naive. Like we must recognize that protecting our civic values should not, need not, and cannot, oh my god, come at the cost of abandoning our commitment to diversity and multiculturalism. Okay. My goodness. We must come together as a national community and ask ourselves how we can do better. This time, the next time, and all the times. Oh my god. What is like I feel like the Globe and Mail should have been like, "Bro, put the typewriter down. Like we're going to write this for you because this is garbage." Um okay. On the question of what happens next for me, I have little to say, but this: if and when the time comes, I will take my lumps, my lovely, my lumps, my lumps, my lumps, my lumps, my lovely CSIS lumps. Check it out. For my part in this, I will do so without resentment or regret, knowing that while what I have done may be unlawful, I cannot say that it was wrong. I love like this is like the first. It's like, hey, hey guys, did you know that just because it's against the law doesn't mean that it's wrong? Like he just like had this realization for like the first time in his life, and he's like, I gotta tell everyone. The law doesn't govern a morality. It's like, wow, oh wow, bro, you're finding. How old are you that you're realizing this for the first time? I say this because I was raised to believe that integrity is the act of weighing your actions against your principles, not against what is convenient or expedient. And here my principles remain firmly tied to those words in my oath. I will serve my country. I will serve the democratic institutions on which it is founded, and I will most certainly serve my fellow Canadians. Oh my god. This is like it honestly it's actually getting to a point where it's like reading as like satire. Like I feel like could be like watching This Hour Has 22 Minutes right now, and they could be just like making fun of someone who believes that they're like a Canadian patriot. I'm not the first in our public service to have grappled with such an unenviable ethical dilemma in recent years. Not so long ago, our former Justice Minister Jody Wilson-Raybould faced one that was even more acute, given what she stood to lose. And, you know, Jody Wilson-Raybould was kind of a useful idiot in their own right. I think they were maybe more sincere in their useful idiotness, but yeah, I don't know, maybe not the example that you would want to paint when you're proving to be such a useful idiot for conservatives. Conservatives love bringing up Jody Wilson-Raybould as like like Indigenous people don't like Justin Trudeau. It's like, yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, well, we don't really like you either. Not that I'm speaking on behalf of Indigenous people. Apologies if it sounded like that. His first job was CSIS, and he quit because the PM wouldn't do what he said. It honestly feels like that. It feels like he graduated from like whatever, I don't know, the RCMP college thing, and was like got drafted into CSIS right out of college, and then he's like, well, Trudeau didn't listen to me. And then he's like, he's gonna like spend the rest of his life either in prison or in like Russia. That would be the funny part here if he flees to Russia and he ends up like leaking a bunch of other important Canadian secrets to Russia in exchange for political asylum. I worry, however, that we may be running short on individuals willing and able to risk the consequences of standing by their principles. So to my fellow Canadians, if you can, please work together to ensure that we are among the last public servants that will ever feel compelled to take that risk. So he's basically like, we are the last of a generation of public servants who are going to put their own ass on the line in order to save Canada, for lack of a better word there. Is he trying to save Canada? Would he wear a Save Canada hat even? I guess we might find out one of these days, but we don't know who this is. And we just know that he's a bad writer and a useful idiot to the Globe and Mail. I don't call him a whistleblower. I call him a war drummer, because that's all that is going to happen here.